Hello and welcome to the Flourishing Introvert Talks with me, Jo Rawbone. This is the podcast that celebrates the natural gifts of introverts so that we can flourish in all situations. Episode 326. Who and what are you leading? I'm fascinated that when the topic of leadership comes up, many people instantly think of leading a country, an organisation or a team. Many introverts then immediately write themselves off as not being leadership material, a doubt often fuelled by the opinion of an ill-informed manager or a biased selection panel. Now, of course, leadership roles with responsibilities like this exist, and we'll often see them advertised as an opportunity or a vacancy. And the good news is, many existing positions like these are held by very competent introverts. Surprised? No need to be, as we are half of the population, and a quick search will throw up any number of world and industry leaders who identify as introverts. But I suspect most of us won't be setting our sights that high. And if you are, good for you. Many of the introverts I work with are already managers who are now looking to develop their leadership skills because they already know that there's a difference. So the first lesson from this is that we need to stop automatically writing ourselves off when it comes to our aspirations, or at the very least, stop unquestioningly taking on board the advice or feedback dished out by those not concerned or educated on the matters of inclusivity and equity. And honestly, there's enough of that out there to sink the Titanic several times over. Once we've done that, we're on the brink of our initial steps, because once we've accepted that people like us, regular introverts with a passion for their profession and a servant leader mentality, are in demand as leaders, it's time to plan our move. The tough reality, my friend, is that we have to earn the right to lead in these situations, not because we're introverts, but because that's what everyone needs to do. It's just that we do things differently. So this episode is about how we earn that right without compromising who we are or sacrificing what's important to us. As I learned to my detriment, there's absolutely no point in selling your soul for a job title or a raise in salary. That's just ego. You still have to live with you, and those around you still need you to be present in every sense of the word. So leadership for us is not about jumping into the deep end ill-prepared, although we see plenty of that. What we need to do is start with who we are and work outwards. To that end, one of the golden rules I have in life is that if someone cannot lead themselves effectively, they are not fit to lead other people. Now, before you panic, this doesn't mean that they have to be perfect before stepping forward to lead. In fact, far from it. So here are some of my essential components of self-leadership that most of us improve over time, especially if they have a growth mindset. It means they have sufficient self-awareness to know their strengths, weaknesses, and development areas. Note that weaknesses and development areas are not necessarily the same thing. Next, it means that they have sufficient emotional intelligence to understand the impact of their emotions and behaviours whilst being able to read those of other people. It also means that they have the common decency, humility and integrity to admit when they are wrong or when they don't have an answer. It also means that they know their values and what they stand for, whilst they have the ability to be flexible to meet our changing times head on. They're not blown around from pillar to post like loose straw in the wind. And finally, it also means that they're confident enough to take action even when it feels challenging. That, after all, is one of the best definitions of confidence. These are some of the things that demonstrate self-leadership and therefore earn someone the right to lead others. It's really not about being perfect at all, but it is quite a tall list, which is why I am so committed to us all being work in progress. And the ability to be honest about that progress is crucial. So for anyone with aspirations of leadership or with their eyes on a leadership position, these are a good place to start. Tackle them systematically and journal or record your progress. You'll find that's always helpful to refer back to in an application or interview situation. It's also so useful to remember that you don't need a title to be an effective leader. There are everyday situations that require someone to step forward as a leader. These might be in the workplace, in family settings, or even just in the routine day-to-day of our lives. When my colleague passed out after a lunch appointment, someone quietly took control of the situation, including giving her back her front tooth, which had been knocked out in her fall. She demonstrated leadership by modelling calm during an anxious time. When someone in a meeting spoke out about a decision that had been made which would impact everyone, he modelled leadership because he was able to provide information about the bigger picture and the longer-term ramifications. When my granddaughter was taken ill on her commute home, a stranger stepped forward to make sure her partner was on the platform when her train pulled in. He took responsibility without making a big fuss or making her feel worse than she already did. There are so many situations like these where we have the opportunity to demonstrate leadership. Do we have the authority? Nope, not necessarily. But true leadership doesn't always require authority. It simply requires someone to take action of some sort that inspires trust and moves things forward. And the more we do that in everyday situations without getting caught up labelling it as, now I'm being a leader, the more natural it becomes. The people in the examples I just shared acted in ways that were needed in the moment. They showed that when you step forward, putting any self-consciousness to one side and instead playing to their strengths and connecting with their intentions, good things happen. And the very best leadership, in my mind, comes from a place of good intention, not from unnecessary command and control, not from political gameplay or one-upmanship, and not from pure positional power. This is how we demonstrate the leadership that's needed in the moment without feeling icky. I mean, I'm sure we all cringe at the Billy Big Balls in the office who tells everyone how good he is, especially when he's all talk and no delivery. But authentic leadership is neither performance nor a time to hide our light under a bushel. People are not mind readers, and those who are often making the decisions about our careers and our future are definitely not. Which brings me to the final, but possibly the most important part of this episode. It's time to answer the final question from the title, the what are we leading? Once we can competently lead ourselves and have the right to lead others, what are we leading them in or to? I'm not sure this question is asked or explored often or deeply enough on leadership courses, and naturally I have a particular perspective. For me, it's not all about leading direct reports to deliver an organisation's mission, objectives or KPIs. I think it's way more personal and far-reaching than that, which is why it's so much harder to both talk about and develop. Whether you're an introverted leader who is holding back yourself or are a leader with introverts in your sphere of influence, the principles are the same. And this also applies to how you might lead your peers, your managers, or even members of your family. Because I think we are leading people to believe in their own capabilities. I believe we're leading them to aspire to more than they would have done if they were simply being managed. I trust that we're leading them to a future where they feel fulfilled and have reached more of their potential. And that, of course, is intensely personal. As a leader, especially one with the title and the responsibilities, I have to really know what makes my people tick. There is no one size fits all. I need to know what their heart longs for. I want to know how we can get out of their way and enable them to flourish sustainably. In other words, I have to really care about my people. Not to tick a box for the optics, but because when we say our people are our greatest asset, we mean it and we treat them as such. This is rarely explored in traditional leadership courses, and I should know as I've been in the leadership development industry for over 30 years. But when great leaders model it, we feel it, we see it, and we need to pay attention so we learn from their example. Finally, we need to have established sufficient psychological safety and trust between us that nothing, or very little at least, is undiscussable. So don't feel you have to master all of these before you begin. Work in progress, remember, and we all start somewhere. But please do us all a favour before you settle into complacency, having landed the plum role, and ask yourself this question regularly. When you consider who or what you are leading, take a long, hard look at yourself and consider what might need to change for you to shift from being a good leader to being a great leader. If you enjoyed this episode as much as I did, then please subscribe, rate us and leave a comment, because we know that helps other people find the podcast. And if other people find us, other introverts can flourish.
You are listening to an Intentional Media Production podcast.